Imagine you trying to survive in this pandemic, but you go to bed hungry.
Atau bayangkan jika kalian telah menghabiskan banyak waktu dan tenaga sebagai petani, tapi tidak dapat menjual.
Imagine you trying to survive in this pandemic, but you go to bed hungry.
Atau bayangkan jika kalian telah menghabiskan banyak waktu dan tenaga sebagai petani, tapi tidak dapat menjual hasil panen.
COVID-19 has disrupted every aspect of life, including humans' basic need, food.
Sebagai pusat pandemi di Asia Tenggara, Indonesia sedang dilanda krisis pasokan makanan yang belum pernah terjadi sebelumnya.
Para petani yang sudah bersusah payah menanam tidak bisa mengangkut hasil panennya ke pasar karena tidak ada yang membeli.
Masyarakat kota yang berpendapatan rendah tidak memiliki akses untuk makanan bergizi karena ekonomi semakin memburuk di tengah pandemi ini.
The Peduli Pangan Desa Kota movement was born to ensure that Indonesia's most vulnerable populations can survive in this pandemic, which may not be over anytime soon.
Gerakan ini adalah hasil kerjasama antara banyak organisasi dan relawan yang luar biasa hebat.
We help small-scale local farmers by buying food supplies from them.
Dan relawan kami memasak lalu mendistribusikan makanan kepada mereka yang membutuhkan di perkotaan.
Kami ingin meminta dan mengajak teman-teman semua, saudara-saudara semua, untuk bergabung dalam gerakan ini.
It will be our honor to have you join our press conference on Tuesday, July 21st, 2020.
Dengan semangat gotong royong, mari kita saling membantu dalam masa sulit ini. Jaga jarak, jaga solidaritas.
Jaga jarak, jaga solidaritas.
Let's maintain social distance and maintain solidarity.
Jaga jarak, jaga solidaritas.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Alia Marcia from campaign.com, and I will be your MC for today. I'm so delighted that we are all gathered here for the online conference titled United Way Leads Donation and Support of Peduli Pangan, a nationwide food security campaign in Indonesia. Today, we will be discussing the food supply crisis in Indonesia that is leaving many people particularly vulnerable during the COVID-19 pandemic, and how exactly the Peduli Pangan movement is working to improve the situation. I would like to welcome our donors, United Way, 3M, Community Chest of Korea, and the William and Lily Foundation. And also welcome to the Peduli Pangan collaborators. We have campaign.com, Hara, Artemis Impact, Innovator 4.0, Danendra, Algoritma Desa Kota, Padma Negara, I'm on My Way, LMND, Eidara, Royal Progress, and Gerakan Masyarakat Perhutanan Sosial Indonesia. So, can we have the slide go to the next slide, please? And then after this, okay. So we have a few ground rules here for today. First, we have temporarily disabled all your audio and video features. Second, the capacity for this press conference is at 100 people. So if you can't join in on the Zoom room, you are very welcome to watch our YouTube live stream on the Campaign for Change channel. Lastly, this press conference is being recorded, so don't forget to smile. You can change your name. You can change your name by clicking this button on the screen and write in the organization name you're representing if that applies to you. So it will be your full name dash your organization. You can also use the Q&A feature at any point of the press conference. Remember to use the raise hand feature if you wish to speak. Before I hand it over to our moderator, don't forget to check the pedulipangan.com website after this to learn more about this movement. And don't forget to start the Peduli Pangan Food Security Program on the Campaign for Change app and take part in the fun social challenges to support this movement. 3 lucky people who have started this program today will get a special merchandise, so stay tuned for that later. Next, I will hand it over to our amazing moderator today, Farwiza Farhan. Wiza, welcome.
Thank you, Alia. It's a pleasure to be moderating this incredible panel. It's an honor for me to be joining this campaign and to be meeting our distinguished panels. And we are joined today by Mr. Jose Ferrao, the International President of United Way. Mr. Jose has spent almost a decade with United Way. Today, he will be giving us a short presentation about United Way before we start our panel discussions. We are all really excited to hear from you here. Welcome.
Interdependent, united. And that's never been more apparent than right now. What we do together today will determine how we live united tomorrow. Stay home, stay strong, and if you're able, give for your neighbors who need help the most.
Mr. Jose, you are invited to start a presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. And my apologies for the delay in getting connected. First of all, thank you very much for all of you that have joined us today. And I look forward to spending the next hour discussing this great initiative. My name is Jose Ferrao, and I'm the International President of United Way Worldwide. Will you please forward the slide to the next slide? Thank you. Our vision is, we envision a world where individuals and families achieve their human potential through education, income, and healthy lives. We are in over 40 countries around the world, and they are in about 1,800 communities. Next slide, please. Our key focus, as I mentioned, is health, making sure that people live healthy lives. One of the major areas of effort for us is education, where we focus from early childhood development through to getting people ready for work. And then finally, financial stability, ensuring that people have enough to lead a good life. Next slide, please. One of our key assets is the partnerships that we enjoy with partners around the world, including great partners like 3M, who's an incredible supporter of ours across the world and has been a major supporter of this particular initiative for us in over 20 countries. Please, next slide. Today, I'll be talking to you about two specific initiatives that, actually a few initiatives that we have around the world, some in the US, some in Ghana, some in India, and some in Korea, in terms of how we've dealt with the response to COVID-19. Please move on. Next slide. Thank you. In the US, one of the key initiatives that we've been driving is the ability for people to actually get food when they can't get out of their house, when they are not able to get to their local supermarket. We've actually set up a delivery system for people to get their basic needs met in their homes. So in early 2020, we piloted a partnership with DoorDash, which is a delivery company, to deliver meals to clients who could not get food to food pantries. Food pantries really is the way in the US, is the way for people to actually get the basic needs when they are really struggling. Move on to the next slide, please. India has been an incredible amount of work that is our network across India has done. We have over, today we've supported over 4 million people impacted in multiple ways, from hygiene kits through food kits, hot meals, and even actually distributing PPE kits in healthcare centers, and also doing some education in terms of how do you actually protect yourself from COVID-19. So we've supported 77 hospitals across the country. Please, next slide, please. In Ghana, our work has also taken us into home literacy. So as you can see, we will adapt to local circumstances based on the needs in the country. So Ghana, 300 plus direct beneficiaries have benefited from the home literacy programs. The community sanitization program has been another initiative where we have not only donated PPE and sanitary packs, but we've targeted individuals to inform them about the virus and ensure that they know how to protect themselves. But then we also have distribution of food packs, and over 4,000 people have now benefited from that program. Next slide, please. Community Chest of Korea really been, they one of the early countries to be impacted by COVID-19, and they raised locally over $90 million initially, and really supported their community in multiple ways, from filling gaps in the sanitation space to ensuring that people had enough to eat. But they've now moved on, and they now at the stage, because they've dealt with COVID so well, they're still feeling the impact on the community, and particularly the small business. So they have established a new campaign, which is called Let's Rise, Republic of Korea. And one of the key focuses is to actually help small businesses to get back on their feet. Please, next slide. And as I said, this new campaign is really primary is mid-sized, small to mid-sized businesses and self-employed businesses that are going to benefit from this campaign in Korea. Next slide, please. Why are we supporting Southeast Asia? Can you move on to the next slide, please? We have initiatives across multiple countries. but we know that food security in Southeast Asia has been disrupted. And this is why when this opportunity came up to be part of this great initiative, we immediately said yes and got engaged together with the partners on this in this conference. Move on to the next slide, please. So the partnership here is with William and Lilly Foundation, 3M, our long-standing partner across the world, Community Chest, our network affiliate in Korea, and then Peduli Pangan Desa Kota initiative has really been an incredible partnership, which we are looking forward to scaling across Indonesia. Move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. I really could not be more thankful for the opportunity to join this incredible partnership, and look forward for you to all join us and making giving people opportunities for a better life across Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Thank you for introducing us to United Way and for doing the work that you do globally around the world. Now, before we move on to the panel conversation, I feel that it's important that we get to know each other on a personal level. So I'd like to invite the panelists to introduce themselves. Given that Mr. Jose have started with introducing United Way, please take 30 to 40 seconds to introduce yourself one more time before we move on to another panelist. Thank you.
My name is Jose Ferrao. I'm the international president for United Way Worldwide, and we are working across the world in over 40 countries to help communities and ensure that they all have an opportunity to thrive.
Thank you, Mr. Jose. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Shashi. How do I pronounce your name? Shashidaran Sridharan, is that correct?
Yeah, oh, that's fantastic. You got it right the first time. Not many people can do that. So thank you. Thank you so much, Bu. My name is Shashidaran Sridharan, but I'm known as Shashi because of the length of my name. I have been with 3M for almost 30 years, and it's my pleasure and my honor, and I feel really privileged to be representing 3M for this press conference, along with the very accomplished panel and in partnership with United Way. It's really an honor for me to be part of this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Shashi. Next, I'd like to invite Michelle Suryajaya to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle. I'm currently the director at the William and Lilly Foundation. And I'm really excited to be here today and really thank everyone for being here today as well. As Mr. Jose mentioned before, we are the local partner for this initiative. William and Lilly Foundation is a grant-making foundation, and our mission is to empower vulnerable and marginalized communities by working on 4 areas of education, health, economic empowerment, and enabling environment. And yeah, once again, really excited to hear from everyone today and to learn more.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle. Now I'd like to invite Regi Wahyu.
Hi, I'm Regi Wahyu, the CEO and founder of HARA. HARA is the social enterprise which focus on empowerment of the smallholder farmers by leveraging advanced technology like a blockchain. I'm really excited today and really thank you for everyone who's supporting this movement. So let's work together to really solve the biggest problem in Indonesia and around the world.
Wonderful. It's a big mission. Next, I'd like to invite Reddy Tricahyono. I'm sorry, I think my tongue got a little twisted.
Okay. Hello. My name is Teddy. Sorry. I want to. Okay, my name is Teddy Tricahyono. In this press conference, I represent as a Secretary General of Innovator 4.0 Indonesia, one of initiator of Peduli Pangan movement. Thanks for everybody that helping and support this movement. Innovator 4.0 Indonesia is an organization that have mission to build an innovation ecosystem in Indonesia by bringing together and connecting Indonesian high talented people with communities, both in villages and cities, together looking for innovative solution to cope the problems in their community. The keyword is brain power meets community power. Thank you, Iza.
Thank you, Teddy. And of course, last but not least, I'd like to invite Brigita Natasha.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tasha. I'm the head of business development at Artemis Impact. So we help organizations and also donors to create and deliver sustainable impact. Specifically for Peduli Pangan, we are supporting an execution of our kitchen, also in the creation of impact framework, measurement, and reporting for the whole movement as well. Very excited to share with you guys more about Peduli Pangan, and thank you for everybody that's coming up today to listen in and hopefully can be inspired by it. Thank you.
This has been an interesting time, and I'm quite sure that for all of us, this is probably once in a lifetime experience to be experiencing such pandemic. The effect of this pandemic have been felt by all of us, no matter which country you are in and no matter in what position. For me personally, of course, this pandemic have impacted my travel, but it also has forced us to rethink the way our work, our engagement with the local community. Deforestation in Loiser have tripled 3 times since the pandemic started. I would like to explore and to give the opportunity for each of the panelists to take a minute to share how has the pandemic affected each of your organizations and how have you all managed it? I'd like to start with Mrs. Sashi.
Yeah, for me as well as for everyone in 3M globally, this pandemic, there have been 3 priorities for us. Let me just start my video, please. Yeah, like I said, there have been 3 priorities for us. We are one of the leading manufacturers of respirators. So it's really one of the priorities is to make sure that our respirators reach the people who need it most. That's healthcare workers at the front line. So in terms of our factories and supply chain, they've had to continue working during this pandemic. And that's been a priority that has been top of our mind. Secondly, health and safety of our people. That's extremely important. And especially health and safety while we have to keep the factories running to produce respirators and other supplies that are needed by frontline workers and people who are addressing the pandemic. Fortunately for us, as we have standing crisis management teams in all our plants, and we have that in all our locations, and we have that in Indonesia too. So the crisis management team immediately went into action, took the right steps to make sure that we have the right environment for people to work from home, have the right tools and equipment. Fortunately, our investments in IT have helped us that. And we've been able to do that with the least amount of disruption. And we're happy to say that our people are safe and healthy during this crisis. And finally, of course, the CEO also, our global CEO has emphasized to us the need to help the community during this time. And this again, each of our locations, like we're doing right now in Indonesia, have helped, tried our best to do our bit for the community, to see how 3M can bring its expertise, as well as its reach and partnerships like the one we have with United Way to help the communities. Of course, we know that at a time like this, how much ever we do may not be enough, but we do try our best. And after this, we should be feeling satisfied that we have done as best as we can. So that's what we do at 3M. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sashi. It's such a strong encouragement that there are folks like you who are taking care of our respiratory tools and equipment to support our healthcare worker and others. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Jose Ferrao to share how has the pandemic affected you and your organization.
I would say, first of all, it's been all-consuming for us, all our organizations around the world. Each one of our organizations has jumped in and evaluated what the local community needs are and how we can help. We have been very, very focused on 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, really very short-term focused on responding to the immediate needs. But we also have a philosophy that we need to look at this more long-term. So we not only have we looked at the immediate response, but we're starting to plan for the recovery. So what is our role in the recovery phase? Then what is our role in reimagining communities? Because one of the things that we found is that the communities have really, this pandemic has shown us some of the weaknesses we have in communities around the world. So how do we reimagine how communities operate? And then last but not least, we're really looking to rebuild and create a better society going forward.
Oops, forgot to unmute. Thank you, Mr. Jose. Now I'd like to invite Michelle to share with us and how have the pandemic affected your organization and how you have managed.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, thank you. It has really disrupted our ability to carry out our programs, especially because our programs are heavily focused around capacity building, and much of that is typically done through group activities such as group trainings, group discussions, and basically group everything. So we've had to pause a lot of that, and we're trying to move some of that online. But especially since we are working with communities with lower accessibility, some of that is not possible. But like everyone else, we're just trying to figure out the best way forward in the current conditions and trying to get creative while keeping everyone's health and safety the priority.
That's incredible. Reggie, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, I have a two sides of the coins, I would like to say. First one is the one side is really disastrous for us because most of our works are together with the farmers on the ground on each village that we are managing. So there's a social distancing, there's a lockdown and everything. So we need to find a way and figure it out how to do and deal with it, especially whenever we do the financing for the farmers and off-taking. But on the other side of the coin, it's really a blessing that really pushing us to digitalize everything, which is now I have a back-to-back meetings, 8 meetings a day with Zoom, and can create this kind of movement together with all of you. So it's really, I cannot say disaster, but it's a blessing in disguise, but we need to move on, right?
How about you, Teddy?
Okay, almost similar with Regia. Beyond our concern and empathy with the socio-economic impact of this pandemic, which certainly has several impacts to some sector, especially for the poor. But there is some interesting things for us that it forced us, this pandemic condition forced us to collaborate and accelerate digital transformation faster. Yeah, even we do press conference thanks to digital technology, right? So in Innovator 4.0 Indonesia also, several other initiatives that we are working on force us to optimize technology more intensive. More and more innovators are interested in learning about data science, about programming, developer, and everything. Yeah. So we can grow up the talent, more talent in Indonesia. And also, in Peduli Pangan also, we work together, we collaborate together in Peduli Pangan movement, start from March 2020. We work remotely, almost all remotely. So it's like Gotong Royong 4.0, working together, collaborate, but without interact physically. But it works until now, so far, and thanks for everybody. That's the situation. Thank you.
Yeah, and last one, Tasha, please share with us how have the pandemic
Thank you.
impacted you?
So for me, like any other organization, I think the effect of the pandemic has been very tremendous on us as well. And as you mentioned also, Visa, how this pandemic is going, how we are going to change, how we going forward, change our mind as well. And for us also, how we can adapt with what's actually needed on the ground to create impactful activities for the society, because that's our main goal as Artemis, right? From things like simple things like adjusting the work all remotely at home to the fact that before we focus on helping offline volunteering activities with the tool. Now we focus on raising funds based on the outcome that created by the movements, bringing in social impact measurement and also management aspects into it. So it can help a lot of other movements as well, along with Peduli Pangan, to be data and impact driven. That's what we want, tackling the real issue, the real problems on the ground with the right approach and keep them in long-term vision. So it helps us a lot with learning, and it shows us that we can help anybody even from behind the laptop in many different ways that you're capable of.
This is interesting. I mean, the pandemic have impacted us both, of course, on the professional level as well as on the personal level. Would you like to share with us some, in 3 words, how this pandemic have affected you on personal level? I'd like to start with Michelle.
Okay, 3 words. Surreal, thankful, and reimagine.
That's a very quick thinking on being put on the spot. What about Pak Jose?
For me, it's been thankful for the opportunity that I have to be able to help communities around the world. 2 is, I'm fortunate I am to be able to still participate in via technology in issues around the world. And then 3rd is we are fortunate everybody in the family is safe.
Yes, it's very fortunate for those of us who can say that everybody in the family is safe. And I invite Pak Sachi.
First of all, sympathy for all those and empathy for all those who were badly affected by the pandemic, and there's so many millions across the world. Secondly is gratefulness that the impact to self and near and dear ones has been so much less. And from a professional standpoint, learning to live in a completely different environment.
Thank you, Pak Sachi. And Teddy, please share with us the 3 words on
Okay,
how.
3 words, yeah.
Yes, this
3 words.
pandemic have
Quite
impacted.
difficult in 3 words, but okay. Pandemic is more collaborative, and the second is more disruptive, and the third is more socialized. I think that's the situation. Thank you.
It's interesting that you choose socialize as part of the 3 words to describe how this impact you on a personal level. Regi, please share with us.
Okay, first word is grateful because I still healthy and sane, can talk right now. Second is the creative thinking is pop up all over the places on my head, so to solve the problem. And third one is never give up. Is really never give up.
Very strong. Tasha.
Can I be very honest? I think the first one is stressful. And everybody feels that, I guess, because most of us may be trapped in our house. Me personally, also been working from home since March, so it's really stressful. But I think the third and second words will be eye-opening. So like I mentioned before, it shows us there's a lot of different ways for you to be able to give back to the society. even when being behind your screen, behind your laptop, you can always give back and contribute for the society in many different ways. Yes.
I thank your honesty, because I think that's something that most of us are unable to express, that how stressful this situation has been for many people. But at the same time, to think of this movement as also sharing the little that we have with the much broader network of people. Reggie and Teddy, you both are the initial brain and heart behind this movement. Can you tell us a little bit about where this idea come from and why you feel the need to invest your energy and your resources in the issue of food insecurity and supporting farmers?
Okay, thank you. My daily work is actually not at this room or house in Jakarta. My daily life is together with the farmers on the ground in East Java mostly. So I saw with my own eyes how suffer they are. I give you an illustration that uh, everyone knows in the big cities we have a lot of restaurants who sell chicken, right? Starting from big names like KFC, McDonald's, Burger Kings, and all those every corner of Jakarta and Bandung and everywhere people sell chicken. Now, the chicken itself produced by the poultry companies, and the poultry companies having difficulties to sell because there's a lot of restaurant who sell chicken is closing down, right? And the poultry companies source their feed from the farmers, and those feed are actually corn farmers, and that's really impacting. I'm counting my farmers. We have around 33,000 farmers right now, and around 6,000 farmers are producing maize or corn, and that's really impacting them a lot. So I need to find a way, creative ways, and not only corn farmers, but others, agriculture farmers are affected. So find a ways how we can really help them to channel out their harvest produce to find with a better price and direct to the end user. Now, that's why at the beginning I spoke with Teddy. This is my concern, and I saw with my own eyes how difficult they are. Can we build a movement which is voluntarily pro bono and ask more professional people to really build up the supply chain in the agriculture and pangan sectors, food sectors, to really make sure that helping both sides of the coin, which is the farmers who are effective that I saw in my own eyes, and people who are living in the city. That's why we come up with the idea of Peduli Pangan, where there's supplies and the soup kitchen or a Dapur Peduli, which is we are currently doing right now. So that's how the thought process that we had since day one when we met first time online like this.
Teddy, would you share with us your perspective?
When the COVID-19 virus entered Indonesia and quickly grew until it was decided to become the pandemic, we are at Innovator for Indonesia with many people, many high talented people with various background, discuss with HARA, friends in HARA, and several other organizations, and we are moved to contribute to help reduce its impact. It's a bit dilemmatic in the beginning, whether we have to decide to contribute in health sector, such as handling and preventing disease, distributing PPE, and other such things related to health sector, or anticipating the subsequent impacts that we predict will emerge and may be more worrying. And this is a food crisis. And then we discussed with HARA, we talked intensively about the potential of food crisis, and we predict that with increasing unemployment and obstruction of distribution channel, especially, more and more people will find it difficult to eat on one side. And on the other hand, there will be many farmers, ranchers, and fishermen will have difficulty producing and distributing their crops. So finally, we choose to move in the sector of handling food problems. This is also reasonable because before the pandemic, actually, we interact with farmers and fishermen and the villagers, and besides, of course, the poor communities in the cities. And then concern about the difficulties of distributing crops, the availability of food in the city, the difficulty of producing raw materials for the next planting period, because the food crisis, the problem because of the long-term potential problem. So we prompted us to immediately roll out this Peduli Pangan movement. That's the reason behind.
That is incredible. Such a collaboration that go through online meetings.
Yes.
Regi, what is your dream and your vision with this movement? What do you hope to be able to deliver with this?
Okay, the vision and the mission itself is actually, I divide into three things. Number one, definitely how we can solve these issues, which is food supplies in the systematic way. And the changes that we can create is sustainable, and systemic changes is applied across both sides of the world, which is the village and the city. So therefore, the second point is we are really developing a mechanism with all the professional involvement from different organizations to build a standard process and standard operating procedures on every detail that we are executing, including measuring the systemic change and all the effort that we are doing. So it makes more comfortable for everyone to involve. And since we are able to build SOPs, we are able to replicate and scale by collaboration with many organizations who would like to carry on and making a movement in different cities. And like I mentioned, systemic change is important, and we would like to see by the end of the journey, there's more and more housewife or people who are doing soup kitchen can become what you call entrepreneurs, because they've been learning with the standard operating procedure that we have. They can start their own economy moving forward after all this crisis happening. So that's the spirit that we have when we started. Until today, we prove until what we are having right now, and we are going to continue to scale it up.
Thank you, Regi. You have shown that how through this movement we are all connected. Now, I'd like to ask Mr. Jose. My next questions will be specifically for you. United Way is an international organization and a pioneer in your own field. Why did United Way decide to lead this nation in Indonesia? You can work all around the world, but why Indonesia?
Well, first of all, it is it's the country with the fourth largest population in the world. It has been very hard hit by the pandemic. I think maybe one of the most important things is the fact that there were very willing partners on the ground that were doing some amazing work that we could help scale. Because ultimately our objective is to actually help grow the initiatives that are going on the ground that are innovative and can make, through collaboration, can actually achieve great results. The other piece of this, which is critical, is we believe in collective impact. And this initiative really brings together a diverse group of players to actually enable us to create change in community or to help communities. The third piece is innovation. We're always looking for how can we be more effective in the way that we respond to needs in the community. And as you've just heard, this is a very innovative approach. And that for me was absolutely critical in the decision to be part of this. And then last but not least, and maybe sometimes we don't talk enough about it, is where there's a system of measuring the change that is going to happen. So we understand the impact that we're having with the interventions that are taking place. And that for us is very important. How can we ensure that we understand the impact and obviously then learn from this to create a better future for all? So somebody earlier was saying that this is about systemic change. Can we sustain this in the long term? Because from this learning that we have in here, if we are able to actually create a system which better addresses the needs of community on an ongoing basis, not just during COVID, then I think we've achieved a great success. And then what is critical is that we have partners like 3M that are willing and able to join us in helping to scale these initiatives.
That's interesting. That I have a few more questions for you, but given that you mentioned the role that 3M is playing, I would like to give this opportunity to Mrs. Sashi. If I may ask from you, why did 3M choose food security specifically?
So, like I said, 3M has been involved in this pandemic in many ways. One, of course, directly as being a leading manufacturer of PPE and other supplies in healthcare. So we're directly involved there. Right from the beginning, our leadership was very keen that we're involved in community, helping the communities too. So we focused on two aspects of community. Firstly, healthcare community. As you all know, the healthcare community is one that is directly affected. So we've made contributions through an organization called Direct Aid for the healthcare communities across the world. And then secondly, when we were looking for other ways of helping community, and food disruption is, it's well documented, especially in Indonesia. And when United Way, we knew that United Way, who's our global partner for most of our many of our community programs, were involved in this particular program. It was something that just fell into it fell into place. From our side, it also 3M's vision is 3M technology advancing every company, 3M products enhancing every home, and 3M innovation improving every life. So really, even though this is not 3M innovation, like Mr. Joe said, this is so innovative that it sort of has great synergy with what 3M stands for. So we're really happy and proud to be part of this collaborative effort in Indonesia, which is serving such an important need.
Thank you, Mrs. Sashi. Mr. Jose, United Way could have choose any movement, could have choose any partner organization. Why Peduli Pangan?
We are a convener. One of our key roles that we play around the world is to be a convener of great work in communities. And when we heard about the work that Peduli Pangan is taking on, and the innovation they're in, and the sustainability of the initiative, that's when we said, yes, we have to be part of this. We just saw this as a movement that's going to have long-term impact. It is well managed, and it's agile. In today's world, we can no longer afford these long meetings and long discussions. We need to get to work. We need to get work done. And this is a group of people that really jump in and get stuff done. And that for us is particularly important.
I think these characteristics that you mentioned is something that a whole lot of us need to internalize in our working systems if we would like to get partners as you. What is your biggest vision for this movement?
We are all about, our mission is about every person, every community able to make it through this pandemic. And more long term is that everybody has an opportunity to succeed. So our vision for this initiative is that we actually learn how to improve the systems, reimagine how communities need to be supported. I mean, just think about the fact that you're now directly connecting the farming community to the city communities, and you're actually finding ways to actually get them to benefit from the work together. So the sustainability of this initiative, the learnings that are going to come out of it, give us hope that we are going to be able to scale how we help communities in the future. And hopefully some of this learning we can go take to other countries as well. And let me take this opportunity to thank the partners on this call, because without them, this not have happened. And really, the people on the ground that are making this big difference, we are extremely thankful for.
And with that, I would like to also ask Michelle, since I have the same questions for you. There have been so many food-related and health-related movement in Indonesia since the pandemic started, even before. But why did William Lilly Foundation choose Peduli Pangan as their partner?
So as Reggie mentioned, there's two sides, to the issue of food security. There's a demand side and there's the supply side. So I think it's really great that Peduli Pangan is able to help the most vulnerable on both sides at the same time. And, the whole movement is built on so much collaboration and leveraging different strengths as well, with HARA, Innovator 4.0, Artemis, and Campaign, all bringing their own set of skills and knowledge to the problem, which when you're talking about such a big problem, I think is especially crucial. And it increases your chances of being able to scale it and being able to sustain it, as well as Mr. Jose was mentioning it as well. Yeah.
This stays true that the pandemic has also been a sign to a lot of us in Indonesia how fragile is our food cycle, is our food system and our supply chain. How important do you think this aspect of food security is for William Lilly Foundation?
It's very important. It's one of the areas that we're trying to coordinate relief efforts as well in Sumba for our program areas. Right now, we are more focused on a more short-term quick response, but we are also thinking of how we can address this in the longer term. Nutrition is also one of our focus areas. And actually, before the pandemic hit, two of the programs we were really excited to work on was one focused on nutrition for the first 1,000 days of life, and another focused on capacity building for farmer groups. So those have become even more of a priority for us.
Is this the first time you have partnered with the United Way Worldwide, and how have the experience been so far?
Yes, it is the first time, and we feel incredibly honored and grateful to be able to work with an organization such as United Way. It's actually our first time working with an international organization at all. And yeah, so we're really excited to have this opportunity to learn from United Way, and such an established and such a pioneer in their field. I'd like to take this opportunity as well to thank everyone who made this possible, especially to Will from Campaign and Simon from Artemis as well. It's been a great learning experience for us, and hopefully it's only the first of many.
I kind of noticed Josie immediately sit up straight the moment we asked about how your experience on the collaboration have been so far. Michelle, I'd like to hear on what is your vision for this movement? Where do you see it going, or where do you want it to go?
I hope that this movement can keep on growing and keep on impacting more people in need and involve more and more people as well. On one hand, this is a really grassroots, boots on the ground effort, reaching the most in need in a very quick way. but also on the other hand, it is a very strategic and scalable initiative. So I'm excited to see how this movement can grow and maybe even more, even sprout more movements like it.
That's incredible. Such a grand vision, yet very much achievable. Now, as I understand it, HARA, Innovation 4.0, and Artemis Impact are the three main organizations that are responsible for the overall execution of this movement. Could you talk about how each of your organizations are involved and what role are you playing? Please, Tasha.
Okay, so thank you very much for the question. We basically supporting in the execution of the movement, especially in the kitchen side, the Dapur Peduli. And most importantly, actually, we support in mapping output and outcome of the movement by using an impact framework called Theory of Change that also used a lot by international social organizations like UN. And from there, we're building risk analysis and then also outcome survey to understand and measure, but not just in the output level, but also dig deeper into the outcome level. Because we want to have a long-term impact, right? That's very important, like Mr. Jose already mentioned. Of course, knowing that having an impact framework is not enough. We have to tackle the real challenge itself, which is how to bring this framework into the real execution on the ground. So we create SOPs, we create templates that can be used across the board that helps us to be scalable. There's a lot of SOPs in different actions, like how to create profiling for potential meal receivers. So since the beginning, even before the kitchen starts, we know who and how to help those in needs. Also things like health protocols and data collection on the ground, which is in those data, Artemis also supporting in analyzing it and then evaluating it and reporting it basically in terms of impact or outcome-based report that will be submitted to the all stakeholders. Yes.
Thank you, Tasha. Reggie, please share with us how you see.
HARA is focused and really supporting from supply sides. There are 3 steps that we are doing after we received the information, what kind of commodities and supplies for each kitchen that we are having. So we select which farmers and which area of the farmers are living to make sure we can supply in the short period of time, and the cost of delivery need to be managed, because the focus is really how we can really use the money for the main beneficiaries instead of just logistic and everything, right? That's number one. The second, the way we manage farmers on the ground, we are engaging the agents who actually, people who live in the city before, they're losing their jobs and they move back to the village that they're originated living, but they don't have anything to do. So we engage them using the application that we develop for them to really manage the supplies that all farmers that they're having, and based on the information we deliver to the a kitchen that we already prepared with everything. The third one is actually, we are not alone, not only HARA who's doing this. The SOP that we are building, the system that we are building, we share with other organizations. Like I can mention one of the partners that we have, Algoritma Desa, who having 1,000 of people on the village within that network can help us as well. GEMA, or what you call Perhutanan Sosial. So we are collaborating from the supply side to make sure that we can feed and supply the commodities that needed on the soup kitchen.
It is amazing. This is really show the role of technology in a movement like this. Teddy, please, you know so much about this, and please share with us. You're still on mute.
Okay, in this initiative, Peduli Pangan Initiative, Innovator 4.0 Indonesia tries to contribute in at least 2 fields. Yeah. according to the availability of and competence of our innovators in our organization. First is setting up the digital platform in the form of website and building up the process and supply chain management, yeah, how to translate in the digital platform to ensure that activities are going well. The activities, yeah, including data collection, activity reporting, donation reporting, and then mapping of the kitchen points, mapping of source of food providers, as Reggie mentioned before, even payment gateways to make people easy to donate. Yeah, we integrate payment gateways also, and the others related to website development. And the second is providing volunteers to carry out campaigns and education in social media together with campaign.com. And I'm on my way before we set up some webinar. Then we provide developers, designers, content provider partners to build website together. We use the progressive web application technique to make it user-friendly for people seeing in the laptop or the mobile phone. Yeah. We also prepare digital maps for data and mapping, so people can easily tracing the position, geotagging the Dapur Peduli, geotagging for the supplier, and we also provide a dashboard monitoring and content management system. Even actually, we also already prepare the team of drone expert in case you must deliver the food without any contact totally. Yeah. So we already prepared the team of drone expert. So yeah, just Reggie and Tasha just asked to provide, and then we deliver the drone team to deliver the food until 5 kgs. Yeah. Then we are coordinating and developing this website less than 2 months, yeah, until ready now. And then until now, we try to help in maintenance and development and improvement for digital platform, because almost every week the use case and the feature the people ask to add to enrich the content and the activities. That's it.
That is incredible. I kind of feel this collaboration have created some sort of an ecosystem where almost every aspect of the execution have been thought through, and you all have started thinking about how to deal with every potential problems that might have emerged. And Tasha, as I understand that you mentioned you and your team focus a lot on outcome more than output, and you and your team are heavily involved in coordinating the overall execution, especially on the side of the soup kitchen distribution of hot meals. So how have the experience have been? Can you tell us a little bit on how it worked on the ground?
Yes, so experience in managing and executing activities, I think all of us are already experienced that, especially social activities during this time, during pandemic, is challenging, like Mr. Sashi, Mr. Jose, and Michelle already mentioned as well. Things not always the same as we expected, sometimes can be chaotic, but along the way, there's a lot of things that we learn, open our eyes, and warm our heart as well. So interaction, like through online meeting with other collaborators, with our local partners that working on the soup kitchen and their volunteers, especially the people that receiving the meals, hearing their stories is like really giving us strength to move forward. Since we call this movement as a voluntary movement and also community-driven movement from people for people, we always find local partners, a trusted grassroots movements or organizations on the ground that they understand really well about their community. For example, like Ibu-Ibu Kader in Kelurahan. And then with them, they help us a lot since very beginning. These people, these volunteers are very limited themselves. So don't imagine someone that has a very stable work and stuff like that. These are the people that sometimes they work as sweeping along the street or fixing the sewer, have a food stalls that's very small in their neighborhood. So they're very limited themselves. But they always come together to help other people. So it's very amazing. It's very heartwarming for us. With them, we're defining the potential meal receivers, we profiling, collecting all the data. We brief them not just about the kitchen, but also importantly about health protocol. So we have health induction as well. And we help them also in the execution and how they cook, they wrap the food, and they distribute it to people's houses based on the profiling itself. And we help reminding them always about the health protocols. We're always trying to innovate as well on how we lessen the plastic usage on the ground as well. So there's a lot of things happening.
Yes, you mentioned lessening the plastic usage on the ground. And I'm sure on top of that, you are facing a lot more challenge on the ground. You're trying to execute this innovative movement. What are those challenges and how do you overcome them?
There's a lot of challenges out there. Things like there's low digital literacy that our volunteers have. Sometimes they don't know what is Google Form, what is Google Drive. We don't know about that. And sometimes the picture is not as we expected. It can be blurry, it's not focused, or there's not a lot of varieties. Sometimes the equipments on the kitchen also not in the capacity that we expected. And I think the biggest challenge is communication. So because me and my team, we're working from home, the people on the ground are our volunteers, that's from the local partners. So sometimes it's hard to us for build the bond with maintaining the standard we want, understanding the real issues on the ground, right? We try to overcome all this with building a clear, scalable SOPs, but SOPs is not enough. So we try to visualize it, creating checklists that the volunteers can put up on their kitchen so they can use it daily. We call and check with them all the time through communication channels. And most importantly, I think that we start since the beginning, we tell them, this is not just Artemis work. This is Peduli Pangan is not just about Hara. Peduli Pangan is not just about United Way. Peduli Pangan is also yours, also the volunteers. So with that, we're building them the feeling that they own it as well. They're also doing this together to help other people that they care about around them. So building that spirit of gotong royong, I think, yeah.
Yes, the spirit of gotong royong is something that defines Indonesia. It's something that I grew up believing that this country is built by gotong royong. You mentioned that your team is involved in measuring the outcome beyond the output that is created by this movement. Can you tell us very briefly what is that and why do you think it's important to measure the outcome for Peduli Pangan?
Yes, so we mentioned that we don't want to just understand the output, just the direct results of what we do. For example, like how many food portion produced, how many people receive the meal. We think that's not enough, right? We want to get the outcome level of it, understanding what is exactly the change that created and how much, like percentage of people that receive the food able to increase their portion per day, able to come back to the standard before they get hit by COVID-19, for example. Or moving on, we also want to understand the nutrition level that people get helped by Peduli Pangan. There's a lot of other data. Why it's important, I think in general as well, outcome measurement can help every movement to understand whether what we do is actually creating positive change or not, whether what we do is actually because of us, the change that happened because of us, and how effective it is. The resources that we're giving out, the activities that we're giving out, how effective it is. This way, It is also easier for the movement, for us, to tell the receiver, or what people call it as beneficiaries, about how and how much we can affect their community. This is a strong two-way relationship, the bond that can help you to communicate better and get a full support from the community itself. That way, we can channel our resources better. We can create activities that actually meets the needs and the characteristic of the community itself, instead of just basing on hunch and assumption, but based on facts and figures. Yes.
Thank you. I mean, I like it so much that you measure the impact beyond the numbers, but actually how it influenced the life of people. Mrs. Hashi, Mr. Jose, and Michelle, you guys have had the experience on working on this issue. How have been the experience so far working with Peduli Pangan? I would like to invite Mrs. Hashi to start.
As you know, we work with United Way, so our involvement is through United Way, not on a day-to-day basis. But for us, it's been very, very refreshing, very educational, and an eye-opener for us how different interests and expertise can come together, collaborate. You spoke about Gotong Royong, first-hand experiencing the Indonesian spirit of Gotong Royong and how all of collaboration between private sector, non-profit organizations, individuals, and bring the latest in technology and management expertise to solve a problem which is affecting all our lives. And in some ways, this affects all our lives. That's something that has really impressed us, and we really want to compliment and congratulate the brains behind this Peduli Pangan movement for taking this forward and giving us an opportunity to work in this. And like I said, it's not just about the giving, it's about seeing how big this can become and how this can be expanded to beyond food security, beyond just the pandemic, to make this a living part of the life in Indonesia. And that's been something fabulous to work with such refreshing and innovative, creative minds also.
Thank you, Mrs. Hashi. What about Mr. Jose?
Well, I've been listening to this conversation this morning, and I get more and more excited as I listen to everybody talk about the outcome we're trying to create here. And that's what got us excited in the first place. But as I hear it and I hear the detail behind it, I think to myself, wow, what an amazing opportunity this is to really create long-term change. I'm excited about the fact that we're helping now, but maybe even more excited about the potential that this initiative has about creating a system that is going to be sustainable in the long term. And that for me is ultimately, that's an outcome which we all seek. We're trying to fix problems that are in a more sustainable way rather than just tactically one-offs. And what you've created here is really is an incredible opportunity. If we take this opportunity to create infrastructure, to learn the lessons, and to then ensure that those lessons actually take us into the future, I think we have tremendous opportunity here. And I have to again say, a lot of this would not be possible from our point of view, from a resource point of view, because work on the ground is absolutely critical. But you have to have resources to do this work. And I can't thank our partners, 3M and the Community Chest of Korea, enough for stepping up and being willing to support this initiative. And I hope that a lot of people on this call will see the potential that this initiative has for the community and how it engages the community itself to also continue to contribute and to actually make this a sustainable initiative that's going to live with us for years to come. So once again, thank you to our corporate partner and Community Chest of Korea. but also thank you for those of you on the ground that are making this happen, because your brains have really created this innovative approach, and we thank you for that.
Michelle, you also play an important role in this movement. How have your experience been in your collaboration with Peduli Pangan?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mr. Sashi and Mr. Jose has encapsulated it pretty well. But yeah, I mean, it's been really great for us to work with a movement like Peduli Pangan that is truly a collaborative effort, and has brought together so many different organizations and with so many different skill sets and knowledge. And yeah, I think it's a great combination of like innovation and really hands-on approach. And yeah, WELF is excited to be part of it and excited to learn from everyone, and hopefully we can kind of adapt some of the some of the approaches and parts of the strategy as well for our own programs.
Thank you. Reggie, the movement have been active since April, and now you all have managed to do some great work, garner a lot of support, but what's next for Peduli Pangan?
Okay, there's a couple of steps that we are going to do. First is really we have a working principle that we are doing right now. Is number one is learning. We do mistake, to be honest with you, and every mistake that we did, we always come up with the incident investigation report, so everybody can learn out of it. Second is agile. Third is really doing it professional, transparent, and traceable. So with all those standards that we are building, we are able to create kind of like so-called franchise model for everyone who would like to adopt, can replicate our movement, not only in Jakarta, in Bandung, but across the nation with all the system and technology and SOP that we are building. We are able to engage more and more communities across the nation. So that's how we call it the systemic changes that we would like to create, starting from small, learn, fail, and keep learning as we are never give up to do Gotong Royong 4.0.
I salute the honesty in this panel. And we're coming into the final question for this session. This is the question for all the panelists, and I would invite you to start thinking about your answer. The question is, what is one message that you would like to send out to the people who are watching? Starting with Mrs. Sashi.
Well, I think listening to everyone speak about the one very strong theme that came out in addition to the core need to help is the spirit of Gotong Royong, and that's something that all of us can take as a message and learn and see how we can, each of us individually as well as organizations, can understand how we can contribute to Gotong Royong, either as donors, as volunteers in the front end or the back end, and help this movement become, just like Mr. Reggie said, a replicable, scalable movement, take it across, not just for food security, but for any such need, and create something very strong and live through this. I think that's a very strong message that comes through this whole session.
Thank you, Mrs. Sashi. Mr. Jose, please.
Well, it's I keep saying to myself, how exciting is it to be able to actually get this done in such a short period of time, to actually mobilize a group of people in such an incredible, innovative way. But I worry that ultimately the success of this initiative in the long term, and the opportunity that I mentioned earlier of long term, is ongoing engagement. So what I ask all of those listening to us today, see the potential in what this group of people has come together, has done, and help us to scale it, help us to keep it going, I know we're all very focused on the pandemic now, but I would like us to think about how this is going to change our systems and how each one of you on this call and outside have a role to play. As Mr. Sashi said, we all can bring something. Doesn't matter who you are. I have seen the poorest of the poor actually make contributions to their local community. And this is what my appeal is, that we all give whatever we can, whether it's our minds, whether it's our treasure, whether it's our time, all of us give to this initiative because it has tremendous potential to make changes that are sustainable in the long term. And once again, thank you. Thank you all for this amazing work.
Thank you, Mr. Jose. What about you, Michelle? What would be the message that you'd like to send out to people who are watching?
I guess something that I tell myself every day, which is, just be grateful and thankful in an active way. And if you think there needs to be changes in the way we do things as a society, or, the way society and systems are constructed, then start small and start with yourself in your everyday life, and find a movement like Peduli Pangan to support.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Regi. You're still on mute, Regi.
I'm too excited. I would like to say to whoever watched this, our brother and sister who live in Indonesia and around the world, we have a common enemy, which is COVID-19, and which affect us in our daily life. And hate to say this, it won't be a short period of time, but it's going to take us some time to really find a real solution. So as far as we love the country Indonesia and our nation, we need to really work together, because cannot be us, cannot be Hara, Artemis, or Innovator, or anyone who's in the call, but we need you guys to really work together with us, to really hand in hand to solve the problem together, especially for people who fed us every day, the smallholder farmers who are impacted, the people who support our daily life, informal workers who really affected by this kind of situation. So please work together and really bring your heart and good intention and good work that we are going to collaborate moving forward to create a systemic change in the long period of time. So that's, I'm calling you to join the movement together. Thank you.
Thank you, Regi. And Teddy?
Okay, because this is for the people watching, yeah, so a bit like a quote, yeah. Yeah, the world will not be the same after the pandemic, yeah. The world will be more to low-touch economy and low-touch society, yeah. Just like many experts mentioned before, low-touch economy and low-touch society. So our challenge as human is how to continue to interact, how to have the empathy and care when things have to be done remotely and everything online. We can be ignorance. We can be just like the youth in Jakarta said, rebahan. We can ignorance, rebahan, or we can raise our empathy. We can learn together. We can collaborate together. Then using the technology. Yeah. We must use technology well and carefully, but it is the best to start by redefining meaning as human and in social beings. Jaga jarak, jaga solidaritas. Thank you.
That's a very cool slogan. And Tasha, please share with us this one message.
I think I'm very happy because nowadays there's more and more people trying to create a social impact on the society. All of the collaborators support their partners here, and also people in the audience as well, I believe, are all want to be impactful, all want to be sustainable. But there's always a big question of how, right? One of the ways that we believe to achieve that is by embedding impact measurement and impact framework to our design, execution, and evaluation process. So I want to highlight about measurement, how this can help us to understand better about the problems on the ground, avoid creating unintended negative impacts for the society when we are trying to contribute for them by being data and impact driven, because we all want to create positive change, right? And let's do it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasha. So that concludes our first session. We would continue with the Q&A after this. And for the audience, if you would like to donate, volunteer, or learn more about Peduli Pangan movement, please check out www.pedulipangan.com. And also you can start our Peduli Pangan food security program on campaign #4Change app to start your own journey towards improving food security in Indonesia. 3 lucky people who have started this program will get a fun prize from us at the end of this event. I'm giving the floor back to Alia.
Gerakan Peduli Pangan Desa Kota adalah kerjasama antar sejumlah organisasi dan individual untuk saling membantu di tengah pandemi COVID-19. Dari banyaknya dampak buruk dari pandemi ini, krisis pasokan makanan adalah salah satunya. Gerakan ini adalah upaya agar masyarakat Indonesia yang membutuhkan bantuan bisa mendapatkan pasokan makanan dari para donatur dan relawan yang mengolah suplai bahan pangan dari desa dengan kualitas dan harga yang terbaik. Sampai saat ini, Peduli Pangan Desa Kota telah mendistribusikan pangan kepada kurang lebih 8.000 penerima manfaat dari 4 dapur yang berbeda di Jakarta. Harapan kami ke depannya adalah untuk membantu lebih banyak orang melalui gerakan ini di Indonesia. Upaya ini tentu tidak akan berhasil tanpa semangat gotong royong yang kuat dan determinasi semua orang yang terlibat. Untuk itu, kami mengucapkan terima kasih terhadap semua donatur, relawan, dan organisasi yang tergabung di gerakan ini. Tidak semua orang bisa turun ke lapangan. Namun banyak yang bisa kalian lakukan untuk mendukung gerakan Peduli Pangan Desa Kota. Salah satunya adalah dengan mengikuti program edukasi publik di aplikasi Campaign for Change. Program edukasi publik ini tidak akan hadir tanpa dukungan dari United Way, organisasi amal terbesar di Amerika Serikat, yang bekerja sama dengan 3M, Community Chest of Korea, Dan William and Lily Foundation. Kami telah bekerja sama dengan 4 komunitas sosial, Tani Panen, Food Sustain Asia, Buang di Sini, dan International Association of Students in Agricultural and Related Science Indonesia, untuk meningkatkan kesadaran masyarakat atas krisis pasokan makanan. Program ini terdiri dari tantangan-tantangan yang masyarakat bisa ikuti. Setiap orang yang menyelesaikan program Peduli Pangan di Campaign for Change akan berkontribusi terhadap komunitas-komunitas yang nantinya akan mendapatkan donasi untuk menyebarkan edukasi tentang pangan lebih luas lagi. Tunjukkan dukunganmu untuk gerakan Peduli Pangan Desa Kota sekarang dan download aplikasi Campaign for Change.
Yay, welcome back. Now we are rolling into the next session of Q&A from our audience, both through Zoom and through YouTube. So I'm going to be reading out some questions, and the panelists feel free to raise your hands if you feel you'd be the appropriate person to provide answers to these questions. So the first one would be the question from Catherine from IIS Indonesia. The impact on world prices, agriculture commodity production, and food security and nutrition increase annual growth in total factor agriculture productivity from the current estimate 1.6% to 2% by 2030 through investment in agricultural research and development. This is interesting. What is the view of each organization representatives regarding agricultural technology investment in the COVID-19 period? Is it possible to save food security? I see Regi smiling, so perhaps you would be the first to take the floor, Regi.
Okay, this is interesting question. Yes, indeed, the the growth of what we call agriculture technology in the last couple of months, and the investment around it is really growing very fast. Now, the equation of the food supplies and the food demand need to be balanced out, means that the problem of the asymmetric information need to be solved, because we cannot just say that it's not enough or enough, but do we really have a data on the ground of what farmers produce, where they produce, when they are having a harvesting period? Are we really able to manage all the information and align with and collaborate with many sectors, not only agri-technology companies, but people on the ground, government, private sectors, and everyone, to solve this problem? Because these kind of investment is happening, required more and more collaboration on the ground. And technology is not everything, because technology is just a tools for making it more productive, more efficient, and more giving a solution in the long term. So my with that background, I think moving forward, the agriculture sectors is one of the most complex sectors in the world. So by collaboration, open up everything that we have, we can solve it together. But that's why we create this movement. And thank you for all the supporters like 3M, United Ways, and some others, William and Lily Foundation, for making it happen, to make it more transparent, because this is how we solve it, by having a transparency and traceability, so people can join the movement together.
Wonderful. Anyone else would like to add? Okay. In that case, I see Pasashi smiling. Is that a sign? Oh, no. Okay. After this, people will start smiling at me. Right. Then we will move on to the next question. Eva from Drum Dilliant mentioned that thank you for the insight. Peduli Pangan is a very great collective, but is this program will be implemented in other cities around Indonesia? And how could communities be involved in this program? Perhaps Tasha, would you be interested in answering the question?
Okay, I will add some points. Maybe we are hoping this is going to be spread out to other cities, of course. Right now, we focus on areas in Jakarta, because we have networks of local partners, we have networks of cadres in Jakarta specifically, in areas that's mostly with elders, impoverished people, slums, informal workers that lost their job. But we have planned to expand this. We don't want to be just in Jakarta, but of course in other cities in Indonesia. How community can help with this? Actually, there's a lot of ways to help. We always open for everybody, since we call ourselves as community driven. Everybody can come in, everybody can come with different ways of support, different ways of contribution. So it depends also with your resources. It depends also in the way you're interested in the way that you can contribute. There's some people come in that say, I want to contribute in terms of idea. I want to contribute in terms of raising funds with my own community. I want to come in to help open the soup kitchen as well. So there's a lot of other ways. And I think Mas Reggie or Mas Teddy can also add into this.
Okay, maybe I will add some points here. We can say that the Peduli Pangan so far already proven in the early stage in demand side, demand management. Yeah. So Tasha and the team, our team already worked well to manage how to set up the demand management. Yeah. So the people can eat easily, the poor people. But the challenge and the next challenge is the next stage is about supply management. If we see in the maps in the website, yeah, you can see the dashboard. actually the food provider already distributed from the western side of Indonesia until the south, already distributed, but how to manage the aggregate supply? This is the challenge, because some is the small farmers. So if we can manage the aggregate supply well, connecting to the distribution activity, the logistic and distribution, and then the Peduli Pangan will can upscale to the next level. Supply side and demand side can work together. Thank you.
Would anyone else would like to add anything?
I think I would like to add balancing supply and demand always be a challenge. Be honest, Teddy, thank you for brought it up. The key is actually collaboration. So we are welcome to anybody around the nation who would like to adopt the system that we built. And that's how we would like to see how it scale. So doesn't limit it with Jakarta or big cities, anybody, because we build being documented, and we mistake a lot, we learn a lot, we failed a lot. So at least what you're going to start in your city will not repeat or reinvent the wheel what we are doing.
Thank you, Reggie. Does Michelle, Mr. Jose, Mr. Sashi would like to add into this question?
Well, I mean, just from an international perspective, when I see the opportunity that exists with this initiative, and the fact that you're starting to get to a stage where you've got practices, you've got processes in place, you've got ways of actually getting this work done, and so the opportunity is for leaders in various communities to stand up and to say, "I want to be part of this." So it's bringing your leadership to the discussion and leverage the tools that are already in place that have been created by the team. It might be focused at the moment on one geography, but leadership in other communities, as Reggie just said, if they are happy to replicate, then I think that's where the opportunity exists. This feels like a very replicable model, but it's a question of local leadership and community leadership to take it up.
I see a lot of us are nodding to that statement, because indeed we do need local leadership in almost every even replicable, scalable initiatives. The next question is quite interesting and probably quite personal. Indonesia was an agriculture country, but most people still think that being farmer is not an honorable profession, especially in the digital creative era like right now. Mr. Reggie Rahayu, you mentioned something about providing people out of the jobs in cities to work as an agent as a connector in the village and managing farmers. How do you get people to consider in growing their businesses as farmers and seeing it not as a second-class profession anymore, but rather one that have many different types of profits and value as well as benefits? In addition to that, how can we get people to not only think about profits, but also think about helping the communities through movements like Peduli Pangan and other social movements?
Thank you for the question. Yes, it's the reality that we are facing. We have around 34 million smallholder farmers in Indonesia as we speak. The last 3 years, we have 38 million. So there's a reduction of the farmers in Indonesia very fast in the short period of time. Now, when we look at the stats, 54 years old is average age of the farmers, and they are managing 2.8 hectares, which is very small. And that's hindering the next generation, the son, the daughter, and the grandson of those farmers doesn't have a willingness to continue what their parents and their grandparents doing, because the economic of scale is not there. But at the same time, they don't have any choices. They stay in the village, they do nothing or do some social works, or they go to the city, go to the manufacturer or supporting household to really working in the city. Now, there's a couple of people doing the movement like Hara. What we are doing is really engaging the local people, young people who hold the smartphone to really become an agent, to get the incentive model and the operational model to collaborate with the farmers. And not only that, there's a big institution like financial institution would like to execute their business inclusion initiative like insurance, farm input, and other companies who would like to penetrate the uncharted territory or the bottom of pyramid market. By having the data, by having those agents, we are able to build what we call closed loop ecosystem. And this is not only Hara's doing, but we're collaborating with other organizations. So hopefully by doing with Peduli Pangan, we are able to scale together and make a movement on the ground, because we believe the future of the city is on the village, because the village is the new global things. That's what we believe.
I absolutely agree with that statement. For us, we are part of this global village. And to be honest, my father have turned from teaching in the university, become a parliamentarian, now become a farmer. So this is a profession that I myself see as something that we should be proud of. But perhaps, as mentioned, not everyone see it that way. Does anyone would like to add into these questions? How do we make farming not a second-class profession anymore? How do we instill pride in this very important job? I see some shy smile. I would like to offer the opportunity for Michelle to weigh in.
I mean, I think this is one issue that we face as well in Sumba. You know, even in a remote community like Sumba, where actually there's not that many industries yet, you see a lot of young people unwilling to follow the profession of their parents and their grandparents of farming. You know, I think awareness and knowledge is one part of the equation. A lot of the farming in Sumba, and I think this is also true throughout Indonesia, it is still quite traditional, and you know, in terms of exposure and awareness, it's still quite low. So I think that's one part of the puzzle that's big. The other part is access to market. In areas, again, in Sumba, you know, logistically is very hard to reach, and that's one of the barriers, is that you can only sell in the pasar, and you're limited to those kind of prices. So I think, you know, access to market is another big part of the issue, and yeah, I think the regulatory framework is another piece. The policy to be more conducive.
Thank you, Michelle. As mentioned earlier, for those who are watching, you can be involved in this movement by donating or volunteering, and you can find out more through looking at pedulipangan.com. Take a look how you can be involved, because this is for, you know, as it become quite clear at this point, hopefully, that this is a collaborative movement that require everyone to jump in. So the next questions come from Dian. What can we do to get more people who may not have access to social media to understand and be engaged about this movement? Again, I'd like to invite perhaps Teddy and Regi to weigh in.
Regi first, okay. Yeah, if the people want to contribute, actually we already developed the website quite complete, yeah, comprehensive. There are 6 sectors you may contribute. You can be the food provider, you can be the volunteer, you can be the donator, you can be the kitchen provider. Yeah, there are 6 sectors that you can contribute. Just register to the website and then follow the account in social media account of Peduli Pangan. Maybe Tasha will complete how we campaign this program. But in the website actually quite comprehensive. So you can choose which sector you want to contribute. Thank you.
Just to add from Teddy's important point is actually anyone, literally. I mean, not only big corporation. I found there's a hospital. I found that there's a logistic company. I found there's an insurance company who are involved, not only money, but their time, their thought, their operating standard. There's a kitchen. There's a big restaurant really helping us, me and Tasha and the team, really how to develop the inventory management, waste management in terms of how to manage the kitchen and everything. So this is for everyone. Just if you cannot reach the social media, contact my numbers. I can share my numbers or anyone's number. Just call me because there's easily to reach out to the WhatsApp. My number is clear. I just can share it. 855-4000 5000. It's call center for Peduli Pangan, so I declare it now.
Thank you so much, Pak Regi. I thought sharing your number is a very brave move that not many of us would be able to do. There's still a lot of questions flowing in, but we're running out of time. So I'm forced to close the Q&A session. However, I invite anyone who wants to give the last statement to do so right now. Raise your hands. Yes, Pak Jose.
I just, Regi just reminded me, one of the movements we're seeing around the world is volunteering is no longer just a hands-on and the basics. Skills-based volunteering is absolutely critical. Each one of these organizations could do with some of the skills that exist, for instance, in 3M, that exists in other organizations that they use on a daily basis, whether it's IT, whether it's administration, whether it's marketing, but it's bringing that skill to the work that these organizations are trying to do. I think that's a tremendous potential. So skill-based volunteering is something that I would really advocate for. For those of you on this call today, please, you got some skills. I'm sure there are a lot of people here on this call that will be prepared to talk to you. So thank you. And once again, thank you very much for everybody's support.
Thank you so much. Okay, Pak Regi, go ahead. Really short.
Yeah, I just would like to express my personal thank you to Jose, Sashi, Michelle, and the rest of the team who make it happen. Because without your support, it won't grow as far as we are today. So please pray for us to really delivering the mission. And thank you for the support. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to hand it back over to Alia.
Yes, thank you, Fariza, and thank you for all the panelists for such an amazing discussion. I'm very sorry that we don't have time for everybody's questions, but next I will take some time to briefly explain the Peduli Pangan public education campaign on the Campaign for Change app. Next slide, please. Okay, so why do we need to participate in this campaign, right? And the answer is very simple. It's because all of us can do our part for food security. And I really mean each and every one of us. And every time you complete this program, which is made of fun social challenges, the communities that campaign.com is working with will receive a 20,000 rupiah donation to amplify this movement. So these are the amazing social grassroots communities that campaign.com is working with. So we have Food System Asia, we have Tani Panen, we have IAAS Indonesia, and we have buangdisini.com. All you have to do to take part in this campaign is to download the Campaign for Change app available on Android and iOS, and then find the program Peduli Pangan and click Start. And you can show your support for this issue, this really important issue, by participating in the fun challenges, and of course, share this with everyone you know. Like I said earlier, that there are 3 lucky people who will get a special merchandise for starting this program. And I have the names, and the lucky ones are Artanti Ayu, Indra Fajar, and Dias Almira. So congratulations to the 3 of them. The campaign team will contact you after this event. And lastly, I would like to thank everyone for participating and for organizing this press conference. Again, if you would like to learn more about how to get involved, how to volunteer, how to donate, or even just to see the updates of the movement, you can go to the Peduli Pangan website. It's www.pedulipangan.com. And that concludes this press conference. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a good day. Bye.